today.
You're
Your
you're
background is
fine. I,
cool.
I love real, so it's all good. Nice to meet you. Thank you
You
for taking a
too.
minute out.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Very excited.
Absolutely. So what I would like to do before we get into your life and your work, which is very interesting, is see how you did during COVID. The last 3 years did its own thing on
Sure.
all of us. How did you survive it, and
You
how
want
has
the
it changed?
truth?
Yeah, the whole thing. I'm looking for the truth. And then how did it change the way that you do things now?
Okay. Oh boy. Well, I was super blessed in that I already worked for myself. I could already do everything digitally. I already had an online business. I have a husband who I absolutely love being with all the time. We live in California where the weather is always beautiful, except for this year where it's like
Right.
soggy, but thank God. So I was really, really, really fortunate. And even still, it was absolutely heartbreaking. Honestly, first of all, I hear from people when they're having a hard time. Anytime you're any kind of counselor, therapist, teacher, facilitator that helps people, you hear from people when they're having a hard time. So
Yeah.
I overwhelmingly heard the hardest stuff I've heard in 30 plus years of doing this work, especially how crushing it was for couples who were in the wrong relationships, right? And they no longer had distractions and other things to help them kind of suppress the misery they were really in. So a lot of couples broke up that I work with. And then a lot of singles were the most devastated they've ever been. I've never heard people as hopeless, lonely. I mean, I had clients in countries where you couldn't leave like a 5 mile radius. You could only leave your apartment once a day. So if you were alone and didn't have family or didn't have a roommate or a partner, it was devastating. But for me personally, the hardest heartbreak was just watching, truthfully, the world be pretty terrifying politically,
Yeah.
and watching the suppression of information. I'm a holistic girl. I learned immediately about early treatments and ways to prevent COVID and ways to boost the immune system. And anytime I tried to share anything like that, I was shut down. And doctors I love and trust were shut down. So I got really scared that something bigger was going on. And not to sound like a scary, crazy, you know, conspiracy theorist, but it was really scary. And if you look into what's going on with the WHO, and if you really look at who runs our governing bodies that are there to protect us, and how do they really work, and who's on the boards and who makes the decisions, it's not good. So anyway, so I had a level of heartbreak I've never experienced in my life.
Yeah.
So the way it's changed me now is I unfortunately am more even more individualized now. I'm more like, really, who says, what's the backstory, who's deciding, but I'm also more committed to my own joy, and I'm more committed to helping other people find their own joy, because we don't have time, right? Anything can happen, and nothing is promised. Tomorrow isn't promised, right? So
Yeah.
so yeah, so it's been actually a great wake-up call.
So let me put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day, and one of them asks you, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Oh boy. I say I talk to boys and girls, mostly girls, about how to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? I talk to people all day long about love and how to communicate and how to meet someone. And I use an ancient technology, which is the system of astrology of India, to help kind of decode love and help understand who people really are and how they're made up, so that the right people get together and stay together.
So when you were in the third grade, what was your dream? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh gosh, a ballerina, of course. And I was really good. I was going to get there, boy. And I now have the hip dysplasia to prove it, Joe.
Yeah, I hear that. I have a stepdaughter that's going through a lot of physical anomalies now because of the years of dancing. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's bad.
yeah.
It's
S-
bad.
So let's go back to your childhood and find out how you got to where you're at right now. Tell me where you were born and raised, and what were the seeds that were put into you that made you sensitive, to being able to help people and to kind of be a guide?
So, golly, I was raised in the San Francisco Bay Area in the 1970s and 80s. And it was a very open-minded, very groovy place, honestly. It was kind of the perfect combination of cultural advancement, in that I live near the greatest museums, I live near the greatest art centers, I live near the greatest universities. My mother worked at Stanford University, my father was a stockbroker, but my father was also on the board of directors of a metaphysical university. And he had people like psychics and healers at the house all the time. And these people would look at you and answer your questions before you asked them. They could read your mind. And
Wow.
so I used to get channeled birthday cards from Saint Germain, so we seemed really normal, right? But these friends of my father's would always look at me and say, she's one of us. And so I was raised in a very open-minded manner. We talked about things like reincarnation, Buddhism. A friend of my father's became a Zen monk, and I visited him at the Zen Center in Berkeley. And then I went to UC Berkeley, which I actually thought was going to be the hippie capital of the world. But truthfully, when I was there, it had the largest young Republican organization
Wow.
in America. And my roommate had a picture of Ronald Reagan on the wall. So that was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
but anyway, so the seeds were really absolutely sown in my childhood. When I was 16, I actually went to the metaphysical university my father volunteered with, and I learned 6 kinds of meditation. And then in my quarter life crisis in my early 20s, I moved to Los Angeles to be a movie star, of course. And I'm sure you know that went extremely well, Joe.
Yeah.
So moved to LA and met a Vedic astrologer at a party, a guy that does the kind of astrology that I do. And a friend had worked with him for over a decade. And she said, this is astonishing. This is so powerful. And so I had a reading, and it just totally blew my mind. And I wanted to know more. So turned out there was a school for it 6 blocks from where I was living. Turned out it was the only one in the United States at the time.
Wow.
And so I got to twice a week for 10 years sit at the feet of some of the most brilliant minds in the field. Uh, and one thing led to another, and here we are. So yeah,
How
so
did
that's
you
how.
know that you had the gift? How did you know that you had this way of being able to tap in and to help people?
Well, I would love to tell you that I tap in. But really what I did is I took a really long time learning the techniques of astrology. The gift that I will say I have is I love people, and I come in a package where people feel safe with me. Everybody feels like I'm someone they know, right? And so my entire life, whether I was 7 or, working at Nordstrom selling men's ties, or, selling ice cream at Baskin Robbins, like everyone's always told me their life story. And I genuinely care, and I get really drawn in, and I love listening, and I love collecting information. I would say, you know how they say you're either an experienced person, a people person, an information person. Uh, I don't know what the rest are, but anyway, I'm an information person. As much as I love people, I flipping love information, and
Sure.
all I want to do is learn. And so when people tell me what's going on, way before I became an astrologer and then a love coach, I would say, "Oh my gosh, read this book, or read this study, or learn about this, or try this thing, or call this person, or do these 3 steps." And so I've been helping people truthfully, as so many of us do naturally, because we're hardwired for this, because we're
Yeah.
social creatures. I've been doing this really my whole life. And so it was only when I learned the tools of astrology that I then had a way to actually do it in a more impactful, concrete way. But from that, all people wanted to talk about was what they'll always wanted to talk about, which was love, you know? And so people were just constantly coming to me about relationship issues. And then I recognized, well, now I need to go get some relationship training. So I went through a relationship institute and got some coaching training and incorporated that with my readings. And that's when they really became the most helpful for people.
One of the most important things in our lives, I would imagine, is finding that person that we connect with, love, relationships. But we as human beings are historically really bad at it. So this is my, and we just are. I mean, until I think
Yeah.
we find the right fit or we're mature, we find wisdom, there's all these elements. But why is that? All the songs, all the artwork, all these things and the eons of human ancestry like are all about
Oh
it,
my
but
gosh.
we just mess up.
So
How
sorry, my cat just knocked over my computer.
your
Sorry.
cat was not happy about us people with me saying that. So
He
no,
doesn't like this question. Yeah, he doesn't like this
right.
question.
Was like I'm getting out. So why what is it? What's the simple answer or simple way that we can reverse something that we always mess up?
Well, I would say number one, we need to trust ourselves and we need to make decisions from faith, not fear. And oh my gosh, Joe, I am so sorry. This is so unprofessional. My cat is going to ruin the rest of our time. Hold up.
Oh, you're fine.
I apologize.
No,
This is always when he sleeps. I've done 5 million of these and he never, ever, ever has like knocked over my computer
let
before.
me
So,
let me I'm being serious here, but I'm almost also being kind of tongue in cheek. I was
yes,
talking to a Reiki master the other day, and I
yes.
live with three generations of women. Okay,
Okay.
all right, and they did the actual procedure on me, so to speak. And during my visions, thousands of cats. It was kind of an Egyptian place, and cats were all over. I am a total cat person. That cat may
Oh,
have heard my voice. So I'm just letting you know. I could have woken your cat up from its nocturnal slumber.
I
Maybe.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I
So,
love that.
and I was
So
talking
back
about
to your
love and
very
relationships. So,
yes. Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, and he's a total lover. He's a total
yeah.
lover. Okay, so back to your very good question. Ultimately, when I talk to people and something's going wrong, I'll say to them, "How did you feel when you first met?" Or "What did you first think about this?" And what always comes out is they always know, right? They always knew it wasn't right, but they went for it anyway. They, you know, the number one regret people have about relationships, honestly, is staying too long. Saying yes when they knew the answer was no, and staying too long when they knew it was over. So, if I could impart anything to your viewers today, it's please trust yourself and don't do the, well, it's time. Well, I'm getting older. Well, it's hard enough to find these three things. I'll give up these 17 other things, right? Well, I really want kids. You know what happens to people who have kids with the wrong person? They have really challenging kids because the kids feel that tension. The kids don't have the bedrock of mom and dad being happy. They feel that conflict and they do not benefit. I am telling you, do not have kids with the wrong person. Your kids will pay. And then, honestly, if you don't love that person enough or that person's not what you want, your kid will be exactly like that person. You think they're going to be all you? No, they're going to be all them. Okay, so this is what I see is when we just trust ourselves. And the other thing, Joe, is we're not all here to have one relationship. We're not all here to have a forever thing. And what I love about living in the time that we do is people get to be self-defining and we get to live in a more free way. If you're in the West anyway, uh, you get to decide, okay, I'm, gonna be gay or I'm gonna be poly or I'm gonna have, an open situation or whatever it is that you want to have. Uh, and the great gift of that is that we don't all have the nature to marry. We don't all have the nature to be monogamous. And what is really good news is love comes in all forms. You love cats, I love cats, right? So a piece of music, you can evoke love. Doing what we love is
Yeah.
just as important as being with who we love. So we can have love in our lives in a myriad of ways.
Yeah.
But overwhelmingly, relationships historically have sucked because people have made the decisions they've made for the wrong reasons, and then they've gotten stuck.
Gotcha. So what is it that motivates you to do the work that you do? What's the ultimate motivator?
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. I'm all about fun.
S-
I mean, yesterday I got a text from a woman, 51 years old, never been married. I give workshops. She took my workshop years ago, took it again a few years later. She's a doctor, so she spent her 20s in school and working her, what off. And then her 30s building her practice. She never prioritized love. That's the other thing, Joe, is people don't prioritize their relationships.
Yeah.
We were lied to that it should just magically happen. So, I got a hold of her, told her when her best timing was, encouraged her to internet date, encouraged her to write to men first. She wrote to a guy. Long story short, they've been together about 3 years. She sent me a photograph yesterday of the most beautiful emerald cut, giant, crystal clear diamond ring. And she said, I guess in this lifetime, I'm going to get married after all.
There you
So
go.
that there is nothing more fun than that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more fun than telling miserable people that are banging their head against the wall, you didn't fail, you're not blowing it, this will never work, this is always going to be oil and water. You don't have to hate each other and you don't have to hate yourself. Like, move on, it's a big world. So,
Absolutely. So of all the things that you've accomplished and done in your life, what are you the proudest of?
oh my God, my own 25-year marriage, 100%. Yeah, I met my husband young, and we were young and stupid, and we were fortunate in that we were just extremely astrologically compatible, but wow, are we different. I'm an extrovert, he's an introvert. uh I could go on and on. I'm vegetarian, he's a Texan. you know and the we've both had to really grow and really learn how to love, and really learn how to truly accept someone else, and really learn how to get over ourselves and stop taking things personally and quit making everything about us. Right. So he's been my greatest teacher and my greatest gift for sure.
So if you have a dream tonight, you run into the 20-year-old version of yourself. You could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom that you've gained over your life. What would you tell your young version?
That is such a good question. To save more money.
Well said.
To harness the power of compound interest. Yeah, I didn't learn that little thing until it was working against me. So,
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I get it. So let me ask you this. If you could meet anybody alive on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would it be?
oh my gosh. Wow. What an amazing question. Oh, wow. You know, I don't even know. I'm so sorry to have no really good answer for you. Some kind of amazing artist. I love artists, and I'm the most moved and blown away by art and creativity. So, um, I'm so sorry. I don't know.
Well, well, let's do this. Let's reverse it. Who has been one of the most influential artists that has always inspired you that you've returned to in your life?
Honestly, I would love to meet Paul McCartney. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
If I could bring my husband, I think that would make him the happiest. Yeah. Yeah.
My
And he just seems
mother-in-law,
like a great hang.
yeah, my mother-in-law the other day was talking about working shows here in Kansas City at one of our places called Starlight. It's an outdoor area, and she said they saw Paul McCartney, and I was like, if I could just see him, because he just seems like such a cool guy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: everyone out there, you have to diagnose and help and get people through things, but you're the person that's behind the microphone, so to speak. And everyone has a perception of you,
Yeah.
family, friends, clients, colleagues,
Uh-huh.
but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh, wow. What a wild question. I think I I mean, honestly, I'm really, really lucky. I don't have a lot of noise up here. I never have. And I never knew that most people do until I became somebody who worked with people all day, every day. Most people are in hell up here. Most people are really, and I can take no credit. I've just always been this way. So I'm mostly happy. I always have been. I have enough serotonin, I guess. I was loved a lot as a child. I was totally supported. And so I don't have a lot of noise about like, ooh, I can't do that, or ooh, that won't work, or ooh, everyone will find out I'm a fraud. Like I don't have any of that.
Yeah,
So I'm really, really, really lucky. And I really, yeah. So I'm super duper honest. I believe in karma. I believe in doing the right thing. I'm super pure hearted that way, but I'm also really, really not naive, like really not naive. And boy, back to your first question, I'm really not naive, but I'm also not paranoid. I think people are good, and I think everyone deserves a break and a chance. And yeah, so I think I'm cool.
I like it. So let me ask you this. If you could go back in human history and see an event firsthand, what would you want to see?
Gosh, I would love to go to like a Victorian World's Fair with like Victorian Albert and see like, I love like antiques. I love like old, old England, old Paris, something. I would love to go to the first impressionist exhibit. Oh my God. Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
in
that
Paris.
would be wonderful. So,
Yeah.
Carol, if anyone wants to find out more about you, hire you, anything related to your world, where can they go?
They can go to Love is in the Stars, and I have all kinds of really fun free newsletters there and fun, really inexpensive reports there to help people find out, am I with the right person? Is it my love time? How can I plan my days so they go as well as possible? Like all kinds of fun stuff. So, and books on love, and I do workshops all over the United States, and I my first one in Mexico over Day of the Dead, and yeah, so I would love, love, love to hear from people. That would be amazing.
Excellent. Carol, it's been great to meet you. Thank you very It's great to meet your cat.
Thank you. Oh, Tiger's gonna get a whooping. Yeah.
We had a good time. It was good.
Thanks, Joe. Great
Yeah,
to meet you too. This was
great.
fun.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Take
it.
care. See you later.